Q&A, Q&A.
Ah! Oh look, we've reached 2,500 subscribers on this channel. Cheers everyone! To celebrate, let's do a Q&A. Why not? I've gathered up all the questions and wait, what? We've reached 3,500 subscribers? Already? Blimmin' hell. I should probably get on with this Q&A then, shouldn't I? If any of these questions are basically asking the same thing, I'll lump them together. For example, Astrodome Inkley asks, when did you originally start animating? And Cinnamon asks, when did you start animating? And how long did it take you to develop those skills and become a professional animator and working for some companies? Also, I love how you animate facial expressions. Crying emoji. Oh, thank you. Facial expressions are honestly my favourite thing to animate. The face is the heart of the soul, or whatever it is they say. When did I start animating? I think I was about 9 or 10. I didn't have any knowledge or the means to do so, but I tried. Most of these childhood attempts are lost to time as I threw out the videos they were on. One of these days I'll make a video about them, as I do have some of the art and scripts from these attempts knocking about still. My first attempt at animating proper on a computer was when I got my first PC in 2001, when I was about 15 I think, using a combination of scanned art coloured in MS Paint and a program called the Games Factory to animate and move the assets. My first go at Flash animation was in 2003 when I started my 2-year college course, and that was followed by a 3-year university animation course. So in 2008 when I graduated, I started hunting around for work experience in London studios. I ended up going officially freelance, making animation for paying clients in 2011. Honestly, I feel like my skills are constantly developing, even today. Sorry, that was a really long answer. Pizza Boy Animations asks, are there any inspirations when it comes to your animation style? And Mr. Shins asks, is there any animation that inspires you? A favourite animated work or animator or studio that has influenced you? Blimey, there's loads that inspires me, but I'd say a lot of homegrown animation from the UK has inspired me, especially some of the stuff I grew up on. In particular, I'd say the works of Bob Godfrey are one of my biggest influences. Rhubarb and Henry's Cat on the surface probably come across to many as very simple and even a bit crude, but under the surface you can tell skilled animators were having a lot of fun on these shows, doing a lot with a little, if that makes sense. I try as much as I can to take a similar approach to my animation, an emphasis on readable, appealing poses and expressions over slick, fancy movement and polished rendering, I guess. Other massive influences include Mike Judge, Craig McCracken, Kennedy Tartakovsky, Nigel Kitchen, Masaki Uraza, Richard Elson, and Mitch Schreier. I probably butchered some of those names, but you probably know who I mean. Dreamcastic Channel, aka PC Wizard, asks, if you could only own one game console, what would it be? And why would it be Dreamcast? Winking face. Yeah, actually, the 3 consoles that have always been hooked into my telly since they were current are the Mega Drive, the Saturn, and the Dreamcast. And figuring out which one I've put the most time into would actually be quite difficult. I think if I was stuck on a desert island that for some reason had running electricity, I'd be a bit worried that if I took a Dreamcast it might stop working on me after a while. I swear I've gone through so many of those bloody things. At least now I wouldn't have to worry about the disk drive, as you can stick a GDEMU in it. If I took a Sega Saturn, then I'd also want to take some learn to read Japanese books so I could finally play all those untranslated games. Can I cheat and say I'd take a Mister? No, probably not. So long as I took along some good controllers for it and didn't rely on the Joy-Cons, my pick might actually go to the Nintendo Switch. I have far too many games on that thing, many in my backlog. Oh, and it has Splunky. Speaking of which, Mario Overthinks Things asks, if you could only play one game for the rest of your life, which one would it be? Probably Splunky. I've sunk more hours into that than most games I can think of, and I've never got tired of it. Maybe I'd finally get a Hell Run done eventually. Yeah, like that's ever gonna happen. Some other games I could easily play for the rest of my days and never get bored of are Sega Rally, Capcom vs SNK 2, and Tetris. As long as it's a version of Tetris with swap-in and T-spins and stuff. Ivy Chuang asks, why did you use this Cancan music for your outro? Kinda reminds me of that Fix and Foxy short film, Symphony in Mole. Oh, I've heard of Fix and Foxy. I seem to recall they had a cartoon on our Fox Kids in the early 2000s, but otherwise I don't think we really had them here in the UK. My outro is in fact a direct parody of an ending from the Mega Drive game Zero Wing, which features these freaky little aubergine, eggplant, California raisin looking things. The song is taken directly from the game, itself a cover of the famous Cancan tune. It was in Parodius as well. Any excuse to bring up Parodius games, I'm gonna take. That raccoon asks, what's your favourite film in the human What? Please answer, really curious. I'm going to go DuckDuckGo this, but I'm going to hop into incognito mode, just in case. Back in a minute. Yeah, no thanks. I'm not really much of a horror movie guy, to be honest. Sorry about that. Pizza Boy Animations asks, what was the first anime you watched when you were young? Like a lot of kids growing up in the 90s and early 2000s, most of my early experience with anime was whatever appeared on TV, like Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z. I still remember seeing that first episode of Dragon Ball Z on telly and just being blown away by the action in it. Toonami especially was a gateway drug into anime. Gundam Wing, Tenchi Muyo, the Big O and the like. There was also a Thursday night slot on the Sci-Fi channel at midnight, so I would hit record on my VHS and just let it run overnight. Sometimes it was hentai. My first anime video pickup was the Sonic the Hedgehog the movie, aka the OVA, when it was released over here in 1999. I was already well aware of this Sonic anime years prior via the Japanese trailer for it featured on Sonic Jam for the Sega Saturn. The VHS had trailers for the Tekken movie and Dirty Pair Flash on it, and that's where my obsession with hunting down anime videos truly kicked off. I think my earliest exposure to anime was actually technically via a pair of video games, Time Gal and Road Avenger on the Sega Mega CD. I know those probably shouldn't count because they're video games, but they're full motion video games, so they were basically anime films with button prompts over the top. Road Avenger was definitely the first time I really noticed something different about this specific kind of cartoon. This was like cartoons for grown-ups. Should I even be playing this game? I actually have a full video talking all about Road Avenger planned for the near future, so look forward to that. Dice asks, what was the inspiration behind Manga-Gaga? The name Manga-Gaga was a spin on the Dreamcast game Sega-Gaga, of which my first angelfire.com website was named after. It started out as a place to type out my thoughts on anime I was watching on telly or on video at the time. And really, the only inspiration there was that I wanted to make silly, funny comics about anime I liked and in-jokes for my online mates. Over time it ended up having some form of continuous story, but I never really put much deep thought into it, to be honest. It was dumb and, at times, pretty cringy looking back at it, but it had its fans that enjoyed it, so I couldn't ask for more. Good times. Artsy Boy asks, in any country in the world, which one is your dream to go there? Right, so this is going to be the most milquetoast obvious answer to anyone in the world, but Japan, of course. Definitely Japan. Here's a little story for you. Me and Cherry T almost did go on holiday to Japan with a bunch of friends. We even got as far as booking the flights. We planned to stay in Tokyo for a week and Osaka for a week. We booked the flights early in the year. Can you guess what year it was? Can you take a very wild stab in the dark why we ended up not going? So yeah, we definitely want to go there someday. Well, to be honest, I want to go to loads of places. Lots and lots of places. Justin Dalebout asks, do you have a Discord server? I do actually. If you want a link to it, you can become an aficionado. That's my YouTube membership program, if you haven't heard me blather on about it already. Alternatively, you could ask me very nicely on my Blue Sky private messages. It's a pretty small server, mostly made up of long-time mates of mine. So just take note of that, I guess. Super Plushy Show Extras asks, do you know El Chavo del Outtro? Oh, I do know of him, but my only exposure to El Chavo is via Mugen, of all places. Yeah. Animation Fool asks, why did you call Af Gaga-Kun? One of my earlier online aliases was The Gaga Man, and I wanted to differentiate this character from myself. At that point, Gaga-Kun was still a mascot of my website and branding rather than the extension of myself he is today. That only happened as soon as I started making this pngtuber and my voice started spewing out of his gob. He is me now. We are one. We are Venom. I mean, Af. Mighty Doofus asks, what's 9 plus 10? I'm really gonna have to think about this one. Poor Hardcastle. Jackie asks, congrats Mr. Af. Question, what's your favourite game series? I mean, yeah, Sonic the Hedgehog. It's always been Sonic the Hedgehog. I'd say roughly 70% of my entire childhood was in some way Sonic related, be it the games, the cartoons, the comics, the toys. If it had that blue hedgehog slapped on it, I probably begged my parents for it. Nowadays, I'm still a fan of Sonic, but not quite as much as I used to be. I'm a bit more casual with the series now. I don't buy the games day one like I used to, and to be honest, there's just so much new Sonic stuff every waking hour of every day now that I find it impossible to keep up. So I don't. One of my favourite aspects of the series nowadays is the discoveries by fans of the inner workings of the old games, like when prototypes get unearthed or early concept art and ideas. I live for that stuff. Runners up for my favourite game series are Bomberman, Pac-Man and Kirby. Charlie Bridge Productions asks, if you could make an animated series, what would it be about? Oof, that's a tough one. I have quite a few OCs that I've always wanted to do something with, but I've never really been sure what. Maybe video games, maybe short films, not sure. I think my issue is I like designing characters, but I'm not much of a story writing guy. I have had some thoughts about a sci-fi comedy starring my OCs Vivi, Rev, Bomoik, Jaeger and Zach, but I haven't really written anything down that's super concrete. If I somehow won the lottery, despite never playing it, I think I'd want to set up an animation studio and give the staff full creative control to make cool stuff. And maybe I'll throw over my OCs to them and be like, can you do anything with these guys? Even if it meant completely redesigning them, I don't care. DJR Films asks, love your stuff. Have you ever done or considered voice acting? Your voice is so unique and fun. Oh, cheers for that. I've never really thought about it though, to be honest. Back when I was making lots of original short films, I did a majority of the voice acting in all of them because I was probably too shy to ask anyone else. I was the how do you do, the tingling rab rab, and in some scenes with some pitch shifting, I was even Lucy Lolly. But I don't know, maybe I'll try it, if someone offered. I think it doesn't really help that I'm pretty bad at pronouncing things sometimes. Like, really bad at it. H of Rewind and Design asks, how did you get into animation work and what advice would you have for others interested in that field of work? Smiley face. I talked about how I got into animation work earlier, but in terms of advice for getting into that field of work, it's a bit hard for me to really say considering the current climate of the animation industry right now. I think the best thing I can advise is to just practice, have fun with it, and put stuff out there. You don't need fancy expensive software to animate, there's plenty of cheap and even free programs out there that have loads of guides to get you started. And if the more technical side of animation software is far too daunting, just try some simple frame-by-frame sequential images. If anything, I feel like frame-by-frame is the best way to start figuring out how the illusion of life can work without distracting shortcuts or technobabble. Start with simple stuff like a bouncing ball, and don't even think about animating a walking person early on, as that's one of the most complicated things you can animate. I ended up falling into freelance work more or less out of necessity due to work experience I did not really lead into anything. And I have a regular, proper job on the side of course. Finding clients is something I've never really been that strong at. I've just been lucky to get to know some film creators that need my animation skills from time to time. Sorry, that was a bit of a rambly answer. Super Plushie Show Extras also asks, click the Bart. Okay, that's not really a question, but I'll do it. Alright. Eat pants! So that was my first YouTube Q&A. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Maybe we should do another one of these sometime. Maybe want to get to about 5,000 subscribers? Yeah, that sounds good. Until next time, don't do anything crazy.